light's coming on. Try to push this back a little bit more so you can kind of see what's going on. Just going to share the live video. Hi everybody. I'm just going to share this live video in a couple places before I get started. Hi Melissa, how are you? How's everybody doing tonight? It's really nice outside. Hi, Sharon. I don't know if you can see him. I'm going to tilt you up a little bit. Hopefully my phone doesn't fall off. Buttons is over here. I'm not Buttons. Louie is over here. Famous Louie. Say hi, Louie. He's sleeping. All right, so I'm good. I'm really good. Feeling good. I'm ready for my son to come home from Florida. Hi, Chad. How are you? I'd love for us to start doing Facebook Lives like every week. Now that my schedule is opening back up, I'm going to try to do them once a week and have a... Hi, Lisa! I want to have a topic every week, really discussing like what we really do as paranormal investigators and share, our information. Instead of you having to read a book, you can really learn from the horse's mouth from us as paranormal investigators, and not have to go through, pages and pages of content that really doesn't matter. But there's a couple topics that I'd like to discuss, about some things that have happened recently that, a lot of concerns that we have about other people in the field and just bad habits, I guess. Bad paranormal investigation habits. But we got 8 people watching. Say hello again. I'm Rebecca Boyer. I am the co-founder of Antietam Paranormal Society. I'm also the case manager. I do pretty much everything, every single thing that you can think of for a paranormal group. I do it. I set the cases up. I do research. I do all of the membership stuff for our group. I do all of our public relations stuff. Gosh, what else? You name it, I do it. The website, the Facebook page. I don't do Twitter. We'll thank Chris for that. I do the Instagram. So I really am a jack of all trades. I'm going to start out again by saying that we would love to do Facebook Lives weekly. Really getting information out there that is the, honest information for people who are starting out, people that just want to know what we do as paranormal investigators. APS has been investigating for 10 years. And, we have created some really great protocols for a foundation for a group. Hi, Bobby Sue. Haven't seen you in so long. So, really getting this information out there. Hi, Kathy. Puts us, in a position to help guide people a lot more than people that kind of just want to brainwash you into thinking what you're supposed to do. It's just to give information of what we do, take it or leave it, and you can adapt your own method to investigating. So once again, we don't know quite yet. I don't even know if it'll just be me or if I can get my other team members to help out. Jeremy, the founder, he's actually always away, so I can't really have him helping out. But hopefully Sharon, our psychic medium, can help out. Christopher, who is the other administrator on our Facebook page, maybe we can get him in here. Hi, Amy. Hi, Patty. thanks for joining me. I am not a public speaker. I may say a lot. But I definitely, I feel like the information that I have up in here, I need to put it out there for everybody else. Instead of us criticizing each other and telling us what we're doing wrong, putting information out there about what we do, that just gives a better guideline for everybody. So I'm going to start off with kind of talking about APS. When we started Antietam Paranormal Society 10 years ago, this is not what we had in mind. We literally were just planning on 3 friends going around to all these famous locations and just enjoying ourselves, checking out the urban legends. We never really adapted right at first, a standard for our group, what we were going to do. It was just 3 friends. We weren't, it wasn't really a group or a team at that point. We were just 3 friends enjoying the paranormal. Hi, Kenneth. So it took us probably 2 years before we really created a foundation of what we wanted our team to be. Before we started taking on members. It's really difficult to get a group dynamic set. Right at first, people seem to think it's very intimidating coming into a very formally situated group that's, we've done this together for so many years, and they come in and they're like, I don't know any of this, and I want you to train me, I want you to teach me. I can understand how intimidating it is to come into a group of people that have been doing this together for a very long time. But that's the way you need to do it. If you want to start out, we might be, Kenneth, we might be looking for more members. We've got a lot of stuff going on and definitely need to delegate a lot of things. So we might be adding. I just don't know yet. But, getting back to that, it's tough for everybody in the group to form a bond that really, creates that team dynamic that gets stuff done. I mean, you want your investigators to have the research done on time so that you can use it for an investigation. You want your setup crew to know what they're doing when they're, setting up cameras, and know that you can't place that camera there because there's going to be a lot of glare from the IR. You want your investigators to know where to look and what places to check out. I'm not frozen, no. I think I'm good. That's great, Amy. So you're not part of a group? Hi, Amy. But, I will say, though, after all of that, knowing, in your group that everybody is on the same page and you work like clockwork when you're getting out there and getting everything done, that dynamic is incredible. APS has time and time again had great people join the group, and we work great together. But, sometimes things happen and people's lives get busy and they can't continue as a paranormal investigator. But does everybody see me right now? Everybody good? All right. Everybody's saying that I'm freezing up. But, going into it, talking about paranormal investigation on a team standpoint, I don't add people to my paranormal group based on what they already know. I do not expect anyone to have experience when they join our group. I don't expect anyone to have definite knowledge in things having to do with paranormal investigation. What I do expect when I have a member is to, for them to really educate themselves. And not just from me, not, listening to everything I have to say and taking that as the end all in paranormal investigation. I like them to get a well-rounded education from past paranormal investigators, historic figures. I like them to research photography and quantum physics, all the different theories behind the paranormal and, you know, things people have brought up through the years. Learn the electromagnetic spectrum. I knew a guy that was part of the paranormal field for years, and he had no clue what that was. And it's important if you're going to be talking about, you know, IR and sound waves and anything really. You need to know the electromagnetic spectrum. It's just important. So, you know, I don't expect when somebody joins our group that they're going to know all of this information going out. I guide them into the things that they should check out and should read about. And, you know, it's not everybody's thing to do paranormal research. It's not everybody's thing to do historical research. So, you know, it's trying to find a member's specific spot that they do best in paranormal investigation and as part of the team. I always say that if you're going out there, starting out as a paranormal investigator, you should really check out all different types of places and start out at places like Trans-Allegheny, West Virginia Penitentiary. Let's see. There's places out there that you can purchase a ticket to do a public ghost hunt very easily. And there's lots of people there that are doing the same thing you are. They could be well-rounded investigators already. They could be brand new to the field. Or they could just be, you know, that's what they do. They like to go to these places just to check them out. So, you know, I recommend for everybody getting started, go to these places and just learn what you can from other people. Don't just, you know, put your shingle out and say, oh, I'm going to start a paranormal team and I'm going to go investigate people's houses. That's not a good idea. If you don't know anything about the paranormal and you're going into a client's home and your belief driven is most of the things that you encounter, if they're mean or nasty, are demons, that's not going to help your client. That's going to scare a lot of people. And if you publicize this information, you're giving the wrong message to a lot of people that are interested in the paranormal field. So you really have to kind of put your paces in and educate yourself before you're willing to go out there and help people with their homes, with their businesses, any of that. Myself, you know, when I take a case and, you know, a client comes to me and says, I think I have ghosts in my house. You know, kitchen door keeps slamming shut. I hear screams or something saying my name, my keys go missing. You know, my first clue is, who is this person? You know, I look at them and I get information from them first. Give me detailed information about them. I do research on their house. I do a background on everybody living there and kind of put all the puzzle pieces together to form a plan to go into their home. Once I go into their home and I set up to do an investigation, you know, you really have to focus on where things are happening, who it's happening with, and then everything needs to be set together and try to come up with some sort of conclusion. It's not like you just show up to somebody's house and you tell them, you have a demon in your house. You can't do that. It doesn't work that way. You really have to probably investigate several times and get a lot of information before you can form any type of conclusion about somebody's home or business. Does anybody have any questions? I've been talking nonstop. We have 7 people. Say hello. Hi, Jim. Hi, Christopher. Oh, Chad, if you're still in the chat there when you're watching, I have a dog. Give me a second and I'll find it. I have a dog I'd love for you to make into one of your little manipulation tools. I can't remember what your little, I think you had a dog as well that you were using at Oddfellows. I'd love for him to be that. So, he does have a hard nose and he's got hard eyes. I've had him since I was a kid. Oh, thanks, Bobby Sue. I like to think so. I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit and talk about Recently it came to our attention, and I'm only giving this out as informational. I'm not going to mention names. If you have questions about who I'm talking about, feel free to private message me. You can find me as Rebecca Slaughter Boyer on Facebook. I won't do it through the Antietam Paranormal Society page. Recently, I found out an individual that was part of our team for several years is back in the paranormal field. In 2013, it had reached a point where we knew this person had been on several teams within the area, and we did have documentation that he had manipulated investigations. He had created paranormal activity, so things like moving tables and making sounds that weren't really paranormal. It was him. And this person had jumped from group to group, and each group had noticed the same thing. Now, with our group, it had escalated. At first, he didn't really do that kind of stuff, but towards the end, we actually caught him on camera. So it was tough for us because it was actually in somebody's home, and it took us several years to really get, honestly, the guts to put it out there to say, hey, this guy is doing this stuff. I spoke with somebody today, and I said, ultimately I want to take the high road. I don't want to keep, rehashing this instance that what happened so many years ago. But I do not feel that it helps us in any way in the paranormal field to have individuals that do this type of thing. The team that he is on right now, the founder has not received my information well. In 2013, when he was on this team, the gentleman ignored what I had to say. He did not consider any of the proof that we had given on this individual. And once again, he's on this team, and it's really frustrating as someone who knows that this is bad for the paranormal field to see individuals accept him in the paranormal field simply because he can get you locations. And that's one of his cons. He's really good at that. And like I said, I don't want to rehash this, but one of my questions to you, everyone out there that likes to, follow our page and supports APS, my question is to you, what kind of message is it for us to know this information and for these individuals to continue supporting someone that does commit, fraud on his investigations? How do we approach this? And how do we just ignore it and just move on and just hope that, the universe kind of makes things reset? That's my question. What do you do in that instance? And, all of this stuff has escalated recently. I've heard tell of the group putting information out there about discrediting people who consider themselves having psi abilities, mediums, psychics, sensitives, intuitives. I know there's a lot of things in the paranormal field that, we don't like, orbs and some of the equipment like K2 meters. There's always that idea that those things are potentially not good devices to use. But when you know for a fact that somebody's a fraud, how do you just let that go, and how do you just allow it to happen? Yeah, I know you do, Copperhead. Hi, Copperhead. Copperhead's on here. We get to see him in less than 2 weeks, which is awesome. But that's my question to you guys out there. I really want to know what everybody thinks that not necessarily should be done. There's all those paranormal poser sites and fakes and fraud sites for the paranormal field, but I don't necessarily know that it's just something that you really just throw out there like that. But I also don't think that it's right for it to continue when we all know that it happens. So just chime in. Anybody wants to say anything, you can say it later on, whatever floats your boat. So these are the kind of things that I, real topics that kind of affect everybody ultimately, because if these individuals go into somebody's home and they do something like this, it can scare the person further, or if they notice that it happens, it affects all of us, especially in the area. While you may say, well, it only affects them as a group and that person is an individual. No, that is absolutely not true. I've talked to people through the years that have had other teams come in, and they absolutely refuse to have another one come in simply because of what that team did. It's hard to vet paranormal teams, so it's just not good for everybody involved. It is going to be fun on the 12th in Harper's Ferry. Harper's Ferry is a very small place, so hopefully this goes off without a hitch. And I think it's the first of its kind in Harper's Ferry. But it's exciting. Very exciting. I know there's a lot of people in the area that are coming. In case nobody knows what I'm talking about, we're having the Harper's Ferry Paranormal Gathering at the Oddfellows in Harper's Ferry, West Virginia on May 12th at 11 to 4. Yes, Sharon, it's horrible. It scares people. And, ignorance and misguided actions like fraud or faking things, it's just inappropriate. It's very inappropriate. Going back to starting out as a paranormal investigator, I always tell people that you should really, to be a well-rounded investigator, you can't just go to, Bob's house and investigate every Saturday, because Bob's house may only have one spirit there, and that's not really going to give you, a well-rounded profile as an investigator. You really need to go places that have all different types of spirits. Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is honestly one of the best places I can say, has all different types. Trans-Allegheny, West Virginia Penitentiary has different types. Then, you go to places like we have locally. Engine 1 here in Hagerstown is the first hose company. It was a fire hall. They had all kinds of things. They had a ballroom there. They had a theater. They had the actual garage for their equipment. They had, different areas of the bunk and places that, it was a very historical place, so it had all different types of spirits there. We've been to places like the Masonic Temple, which had different tenants in the downstairs, and then they had a lot of the people that were Masons there, and, there was a lot of things in that building that didn't quite add up to what was supposed to be there. Now, we investigated that building from 2011, I believe, until last year, and there's a great example. Whenever I get around to writing that up, that's a great example of a location that completely changed. Initially, it had a lot of spirits that were very interested in protecting the building, and through time, most of the spirits that we had talked to initially disappeared, and darker things had appeared. Other groups had started investigating there, and I would say about that time, things got very dark, very negative in the building. There was always one negative spirit all the way upstairs. And then you go to places that, private homes that have, it could be a tulpa or a mental manifestation, just people's stress and unexpressed emotions that created some sort of spirit in the home. You go to places like the Dagmar Hotel, which had a lot of vagrants and drug addicts and people who had just come out of prison. then, you know, that building has been used for several different purposes. So, like I say, there's all different places that you can go that really can get you to be a more well-rounded investigator than just hitting up your local graveyard every Saturday night. And you have to do that. To be a good investigator, you have to do that. You have to take in each of these different, the location itself, a big building, a small building, a house, or, something that doesn't have electricity. So there's all different types of things that can make you understand the things that you have to do for an actual investigation. Anybody has questions, go ahead and ask them, because I'm just rambling on. It's really nice today here in Maryland. I've got 4 people watching now. Hopefully it's not just my members. But let's see, what else do I want to talk about? That was the other thing. People make comments all the time about, the type of investigations that people do. And I've said that there are different types of investigators out there. There's different types of teams. You have your meetup teams that like to go out and, just get people together to be able to afford to do locations. And that's great because, you're helping out that location, and, each of you may not be a part of a team, but you are an effort to go out there and learn things. Then you have your paranormal teams that, they basically, that's kind of the same thing they do. They have a team and they go to pay to plays, which again, not a bad thing. I'd love to go to more famous locations, but I have 3 children. I can't just jet set all throughout the U.S. and go to these locations. So it's not something that we can actually do. Hi, Brian. Then you have, some investigators that they're kind of the thrill seekers. They want to experience something. And again, that's not a bad thing. Everybody's got their purpose or their point or their reasons for doing it. Then you have the investigators that really want to learn something. And there's a lot of groups out there that do want to learn something. But at the same time, when they learn something, they don't necessarily really learn anything. They just got to take things at face value and put too much belief into their conclusion. More residential places. I like private residences because they're small. It's easier to set up in a private residence. The things that we've encountered through the years, though, sometimes it's not easy creating conclusions for people. If you don't get anything and they're having all kinds of stuff happening, our group has always been firmly documentation. We just want to document stuff. Yeah, and then we have Copperhead. Copperhead's a loner. But we love you, Copperhead. We miss you. Private residences, yes, they're great. Is there? Oh my gosh, yeah, I got ghosts all over the place. Look. See them all? I even have here. I'll tilt you up a little bit so you can see I have lights on too. That's my paranormal paraphernalia up there. I got all kinds of crazy stuff. Through the years you go to places and you just kind of collect things like this from Fort Frederick, Copperhead. You were just there. Here's one. I've had this bottle of water from West Virginia Penitentiary since 2008. Can you believe that? It's crazy. But nobody's ever going to drink that. It's just going to sit on my shelf for the rest of the time. Yeah, see, that's one of the things, getting to know the spirits in the location. Not always are they going to talk to you right away. So you could have to do a bunch of investigations. Methods on residential. Okay, so when a client contacts me, I usually do a well-written interview questionnaire. So when they send me an initial request for an investigation, I send them a questionnaire based off of their request. Some people don't give me a lot of information. I even had one that told me they had 80 demons in their house. I didn't know what to do with that one. But I try to, you know, generate some sort of questionnaire for them through email first. Because I'll be honest, when they see all those questions, probably 2 out of 5 don't respond to me. I don't hear from them again, even when I, you know, send them a message. So getting that initial questionnaire response from them lets me know that they're serious and gets me information that I can start creating a plan for their case. I want to know their goals. You know, what do you want out of this? Do you just want documentation? Do you want to know, you know, what you have in your house? Do you want it gone? You know, I have to know what is the point of our case for these people. Because not everybody is going to be like, you know, I want these things gone. Some people are really attached to their ghosts. So a lot of them, they just want documentation. The one that we just did, that's all she wanted. Yeah, run away. That's the other thing. I always have to ask them, are there any mental illnesses? Does anybody do drugs? Which obviously, in some cases, they don't answer that question. But people can be scary, very scary. The paranormal attracts all types. So once I get the questionnaire done, then I usually set up a phone interview or a in-person interview to do a walkthrough through the house. It can be kind of scary going to somebody's house. So I'd say if you're, you know, a newer investigator and a woman, take somebody with you that can help you out. It's never good to just show up to somebody's house that you don't know. And protect yourself. You know, some of these people are asking you to come in. You know, I've been watching NCIS lately. So now, sorry about that, guys. My phone. You know, you have to protect yourself because you never know what kind of person you might be coming across. So just make sure that whoever's house you're going to, if your state has like a judiciary case search, like criminal search, just double check them a little bit. That's why I like my researcher to give me a little bit of background information on the people that I'm getting ready to set up a case with. Exactly, Christopher, be on guard. If we ever do, I might. Private residences, a lot of times I don't like taking anybody that, because a lot of times we only take like 4. We have 10 people in our group right now. If we ever needed somebody outside, yeah. But yeah, once we get that, we do a walkthrough or we do the phone interview. We set up an investigation if that is what's needed in their case. There's some people that they don't need an investigation. They really just, you know, they want things gone, and that's not what we do. I would send in our psychic medium. But once again, once we've gotten all the information from a client, we know the hot spots, we know who's involved, we create a plan, and if we do the walkthrough before the investigation, we can decide where cameras might go or recorders. If we do the walkthrough at the time of the investigation, then it's like a, you know, it's a quick, we got to decide where are they going to go, what's going to be affected by these cameras, where should we place them. So we have a little powwow once we get there to kind of figure out where we're going to do things like that. We never make snap judgments about the type of activity. We take what the client gives us. We go in with an open mind. One of the things I did at this past investigation was literally read the history. I read through the names and waited until we got responses. Yeah, Bobby Sue, that would be very similar. I mean, we'd still set up the same way because in my thoughts, you really want to approach it in a way that you're not trying to pinpoint one person. If it's not the person you think it is, like for example, this one that we just did last weekend, we knew going in that there had been a suicide in the upstairs. While that information is very valuable and could be very valuable in our line of questioning, we did not want to solely focus on the fact that somebody committed suicide in the house. we have to ask questions that is going to give us a response with who is there, and not bring somebody that isn't there. So, so like I said, we used the historical information, and I just read through names. Just read through it, and we got a response to one of the past owners of the house. And interestingly enough, once we got the response to that name, I had 2 of our investigators that were sitting at the base do a little research on their phones, and come to find out this gentleman had actually committed suicide himself. It was not in the house. It was somewhere else. He had already sold the house years before, many years before. So it's, you know, it's very interesting. If you have that information, it can be very valuable. And sometimes that information doesn't help you at all. Knowing the name of the person that committed suicide in the house didn't help us, because we didn't get any response from that. Hi, Bill. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. So if they want to confirm that there's a loved one with them in their home, we're still going to approach it as if we don't know who's there, and be asking questions to attempt, you know, to get some sort of response. Now, yes, eventually we may ask specifically for that person, but going in straight away, we probably wouldn't. It's kind of approaching it with, you know, no information at first, and then kind of bringing that in later. A lot of investigators kind of question, do you do the research beforehand so that you're, you know, not, your mind's not saying like, oh, I think that's who's in there and that's who I'm focusing on? Or do you do the research and take that information? You know, it's like, it's a catch-22. If you can only go into that place once, have that information. If you know that you can go in there multiple times, maybe go in for the first time without any of it and just see what you get. And then do the research and see if you can find any correlation. Hi, Kevin. So, you know, it's can be either way. But I would say that if all they wanted to know, then, you know, we're just there to document. Anybody have any more questions? I know I've been jumping from topic to topic, but I wanted to kind of go back to, like, educating yourself as a paranormal investigator. Reading books. I have a book that was written by an astronomer in 1928. And honestly, he was not a paranormal investigator, but he did write a book specifically about interviews that he did with people who claimed to have houses that were haunted. And his attention to detail and just interviewing all the people involved was amazing. So there's inspiration and information in the craziest of places. I just went to Wonder Book and Video, which is a local used bookstore here, and it was sitting on the shelf. It was like $20, so it was kind of expensive for a used book, but it's one of my prized possessions now. I read it every so often just to kind of, you know, refresh my memory of how he approached things. And I like that, you know. I think a lot of people kind of push out the idea that, you know, personal experiences don't matter, but they do. I mean, we wouldn't go in there if, hey Chuck, how are you? We wouldn't go into a person's home if they didn't have personal experiences. So personal experiences are important. Oh, I'm sorry, Bill. So, you know, one of my things with my clients, another Bill had asked earlier about how I approach private residences. I tell them, rate it first, you know, write everything down, journalize it, put down the date, the time, what happened, who was involved. It's almost like a game of Clue. So, you know, if Colonel Mustard was in the living room and he heard the pipe fall off of a shelf, that's important. You know, hey, maybe that spirit's attached to Colonel Mustard or that pipe. Who knows? So writing all of that stuff down is valuable in helping us, but it also helps them. If you are scared in your home and you have paranormal activity and something happens and you are so freaked out that you don't really look at the logical explanation, you know, oh my gosh, that thing fell off a shelf. Well, what if it was literally just sitting there and just some sort of vibration pushed it? You know, going back and really looking at it and testing out that idea is important. It may not be paranormal. It could just be that, you know, your radio was too loud earlier and it made it fall off the shelf. What would you say the difference is between a loved one trying to get in touch and just another spirit? Well, I'll be honest, Bobby Sue, it's not as easy as that to answer. They can all be very similar. I would say that a lot of times people, you know, mention perfume, or, you know, if they smoked a cigar, like to sit in a specific chair, or, you know, they would come through the door at a certain time every day. So if you're looking at a loved one, a lot of times you can find a correlation in things that they did in life. Their smell, their activities, things that they liked that, you know, like me lately, for some reason I see Mini Coopers everywhere. I don't know why I see them everywhere. You know, maybe that's an indication of something. So say if, you know, you see a car constantly that, you know, your grandfather drove and maybe he's trying to send you a message. I would say the difference that would be more obvious is that the signs are familiar, whereas just another spirit would be things that don't really have any type of pattern to you. Sorry, I just got a message. Yes, Christopher, look at all the normal things before you go paranormal. Definitely. I mean, you know, like they talk about, if you close one door and another door opens, your house is haunted. No. You know, if you close one door and maybe you had a window open somewhere and another door opens, it's kind of a pressure thing. So it doesn't necessarily mean that your house is haunted. I will say last night I had a really interesting, we have something here in our house and I'm not sure what it is. People always say, did you bring something home? No, I would be able to tell if it was something that I brought home. This man likes to hang out here in my sunroom, which is my computer room. He likes to kind of wander back and forth from in here out to my entryway. And last night, I felt like there was something out here, and then all of a sudden, a ball rolled across the floor. So, and my daughter even said that she noticed later on that the ball was in one spot and was in another spot even after she walked out of the room. So, I don't know who he is. Not somebody I know. Anybody have any other questions? Hi, Donna. Now, where's Salisbury? What state are you in? You like my cup? It's got ghosts on it. Feel free to ask questions. Hi, Heather. You'll have to go back and watch this. Exactly, Copperhead. Exactly. And I mean, people are going to notice that, you know. I'd say a good example is my grandmother. We often say that we get poetic inspiration when our Meemaw is around. North Carolina. Oh, I'd love to go to North Carolina. So when all of a sudden I have like a little poem pop in my head, I feel like she's with me. Or if the sun comes out and the rays just hit just a certain way, I know it's her. So things like that, you know, familiar things that definitely lead you to believe that it's a loved one. Now I would say that, you know, double check on that, because some spirits are mischievous. And they try to act like others, which is not cool. I have investigated the paranormal for 10 years. I personally have investigated, and our team has been around for 10 years. It's been a long 10 years. And I couldn't tell you exactly how many places that we've investigated, but, I mean, the well-known is obviously Trans-Allegheny, where we met Copperhead and Bobby. And West Virginia Penitentiary. We've been to, here locally in Hagerstown, Maryland, the Dagmar Hotel, Masonic Temple. We've been to Engine 1. I have a list somewhere. You wouldn't believe the paperwork that you have to do for paranormal investigation. It's kind of crazy. There we go. Gettysburg. We go to Gettysburg a lot. I know everybody says we're very fortunate that we live that close to Gettysburg, but when you do live this close to Gettysburg, it's not as much of a novelty as if you live somewhere else and you get to go every once in a while. Obviously, we live very close to Antietam Battlefield, which is in Sharpsburg, about 15-20 minutes away. Antietam is a beautiful place. I have not had any experiences on the battlefield, but I will be perfectly honest. They don't talk about it. Ever. It is very, very rare to find anybody that works on the battlefield, even the people who do the tours there. They don't talk about the paranormal. They don't, I think it's because they don't really want it to become known for that. They probably have seen what has happened to Gettysburg, you know, so commercialized. They don't want that for Sharpsburg. I don't blame them completely. Antietam has its own benefits. You ever go to Sharpsburg, go to Nutter's and get some ice cream, go to Captain Bender's, they have awesome food right in town. But you know, go to Burnside Bridge, it's beautiful there, absolutely beautiful. Take the trails, just hang out, it's quiet, it's peaceful, it's wonderful. One of the places we've been to is the KOA house in Williamsport. I would say it's kind of like a portal. It's kind of crazy there. They have all kinds of, we got Native American, Spanish, all kinds of different. Let me read this real quick. We have clients that advise us they've experienced paranormal. Do you feel that paranormal activity follows those persons, or do you feel some people are more sorry, perceptive spirits? Both. I think, let me double check that. I actually, you know, and they could be linked, Donna. I think some people are more able to sense spirits. And those same people, because they can, I've been told they're like beacons, if they can. It's my daughter, Anna. She likes to investigate as well. She doesn't get to all the time. I know a lot of people have like real rigid views on that, but she's great. And when she turns 16, she'll be a junior investigator, but she's 11, so she's got some years to go. But I really think that they could go hand in hand. Some people may have some sort of latent psychic ability that they don't know, and spirits kind of follow them around, you know, waiting for them to wake up and give a message to somebody. Some people just have, you know, more of a sensitive empathic ability where they just can sense them and know that they're there. But I really think those things go hand in hand. So if you do have some sort of ability, you're going to have more perception of them, and they're probably going to want to follow you around more often. But some people are just, for some reason, great, I guess, attachment people. I don't know what else to say other than that. The spirits like to attach to them. I don't know if it's because they're sensitive or vulnerable. Could be either. Still learning on the whole psychic side. We have for a long time not had psychics in our group until about, I'd say 2 years ago, when I had an experience that I could not explain. and come to find out that I apparently had some sort of ability, which I never believed in before. I had to find a mentor, and I found Sharon, and so that's like, it's opened a whole new book, can of worms for me. Learning about psychic abilities and what each one means and what it's a lot. And I can tell anybody who may have abilities, if you do have them, you think you have them, take the time to learn to protect yourself. Definitely. And learn all you can. Anybody else have... Oh, you're welcome, Donna. Anybody else have any questions? Go. I love the paranormal field. I love everything that I do. You'd be surprised. You are a magnet, Copperhead. I think you're kind of a, I don't know. I think I have it written down somewhere. You are, yes, protect yourself. It's, I never would have, one of my friend Amanda said recently, woo-woo, new age. I never would have believed in any of this, but, yes, Louie's over here. Let me see if I can, you see him? He's over on a chair. He's our little mascot. He's sleepy. Alright, take him out here. Go on. You're easy. Hi, April. No, you are like, and for some reason the word is not coming to me. I don't know why. I believe Louie is a cross with Maine Coon. He's got a giant fluffy tail that looks like a feather duster. Oh, Max is your mascot. I'm not bringing him in here. He'll bark. What else did I want to talk about? Let's see. Other places that... we do a lot of like long-term locations. We've been so lucky as a group to have locations that we go back to time and time again. The temple, Engine 1 we did 3 times, so it wasn't that many. KOA we did a couple times, but places like the warehouse that we've been to quite a few times. Oddfellows, love the Oddfellows. They're wonderful, sharing location with us. That's one of the reasons why we're having gatherings, so that we can share the location with other people. We have ghost hunts in October to help raise money for the upkeep of the building. Oddfellows is a perfect example of a location that when we first investigated, nothing happened. We were, we had no EVPs. We had no real personal experiences. It was very quiet the first 2 times we investigated. And then all of a sudden, things just didn't stop happening. We've had doors move. We've seen shadow figures. We've heard doors slam downstairs. We've heard footsteps, disembodied voices. Yeah, I could talk about the paranormal. Once you get me on the topic, I don't stop talking. But Oddfellows is a great place and a great example of how activity has changed over time, or how they've gotten to know us and really want to kind of tell us who they are and what they're about. Now, there's a little girl at Oddfellows that we communicate with her in different ways. We've never gotten any EVPs, and the little girl portion is all via psychics, sensitives. More than one person has come in and seen the little girl visually, not just like up in here. They've seen her visually, but she doesn't talk, so we're not sure if she's a mute or she just refuses to, or if something is preventing her from doing that. So that brings us all the way back to going to locations over and over again really gets you an education of the type of activity. It can also let me finish what I'm saying and I'll get to that. So Salisbury said they love Trans-Allegheny and it has to be the most haunted location we've ever investigated. What was your most profound experience you had there? Yeah, so, you know, Oddfellows is a great place. We've learned so much through the years. It allows us, we know what's there. We know who communicates and who doesn't. So it's a good place for us to do research on equipment. So, you know, we know for any type of research that we do beyond just going and investigating and gathering evidence. We have a lot more stuff to, ways to just check things out. And yeah, they don't want anything dug up from the basement. But I'm going to go to Trans-Allegheny. So many, many moons ago, we investigated Trans-Allegheny for the first time. And we met, the first time we went, I don't think we really had created a great bond there yet. But the second time we went, we met Greg and Michelle Graham, Copperhead and Michelle. They were both, I believe they were both guides at the time. Or was Michelle the ghost hunt manager? I don't remember. But anyways, it was starting of a long friendship. And almost immediately, they asked us if we could help out with some events. We did a celebrity event there back in 2011, I believe it was. Met some great people, had a fantastic time. So we have been there so many times, I can't even catalog it all. But we have had, me personally, I'll go for that. I've had doors shut in front of me. Disembodied voices. We heard something say, hey. A little girl saying, don't go. We've heard screams. We've heard other doors slam, footsteps. Me and another investigator were walking into, I believe it was Ward 1. And there was a clock on the wall that, you know, we really hadn't noticed. I had dropped a camera on the floor right before we got into Ward 1. And I was trying to make sure the batteries went back in and made sure it was still working really good. Because it wasn't my camera, it was my husband's. And I had my flashlight in my mouth and I started talking about Ruth, the spirit that's in, you know, that area. And out of nowhere, we hear this loud bang. Well, the girl that was with me grabbed my book bag that I had on and slammed me against the wall, and she just screeched. So I immediately, you know, investigator mode. Who's there? What was that? You know, asking a bunch of questions. But she's like, oh my God, we need to get out of here. So we left that hallway, went back to where the guys were in the Civil War section. And they're like, oh my God, you guys are a bunch of sissies. You need to go back there and figure out what it was. So we go back into Ward 1, and it was actually one of those plastic clocks that, you know, you can buy anywhere, Walmart. And it had not fallen straight down off the wall. It literally had just gone smack on the floor. The batteries in it were in a different area. Now, there was enough dust on the floor that you would have been able to tell if somebody had walked up to it. If it had dropped straight down, if it had rolled, it had not, nothing was disturbed. It literally came off the wall and slammed down on the floor. That was very unusual. And it was startling because it was a loud bang in a very quiet area. So, probably freak out even your most seasoned investigators. One of the other times, actually the celebrity weekend, I don't know if Bobby Sue's still on here, but I was in the, I was actually following around a group as a spotter. And you're basically just required to keep everybody in groups together and make sure nobody wanders off where they're not supposed to go. You know, having celebrities, they were stationed throughout the main building. And then Cece the Huntress was in the morgue of the medical building. And I'll be honest, I don't remember where everybody else was, but there was Dave Dango, there was Steve Gonzalez was there, KJ McCormick, and Chris Fleming. So we were with groups and we were switching off in the different areas. Well, we were in no. It's been so long since I've been there, I have to remember and count through the wards. Ward 6. We were in Ward 6, and I walked back to check on people that were on the other side of the building. And I walked into Ward 3, and I saw a light come out into the hallway. And this light was just, it was probably about a foot in diameter, and just slowly came out in the hallway. Right in the center of it. So I'm thinking to myself, if there's people down there, I don't want to bother them. If they're having a good session and they're shining a light on the hallway, something's happened that they probably want to figure out what it is. Hopefully it wasn't me, but I was all the way down at the other end of the hallway. So I stopped. The light disappeared. It literally just went off. And I stood there for about 5 minutes. And I thought, well, you know, this is ridiculous. At some point I'm going to have to walk down the hallway because I've got to go check on these other people. So I start walking, and I get down to where the light had come out of a room. And, you know, as I'm going down, I have a flashlight. I want to clearly present that, you know, I'm walking down this hallway. You can hear me. I have a light on. I'm shining it in every room. I get to where the light had come out of a room. There's nobody in that hallway but me. Nobody. So I stopped. You know, this is early on. This is only about 2 years after I really started. And I looked around thinking to myself, do I go back the way I came or do I keep moving? At that point, I started walking towards the doorway that went out into the center of the building. And just about that time, the door opens and Bobby Sue, who was another spotter, walked in. So yeah, I was a little freaked out. I didn't know what that was. I was by myself. And if you've been to Trans-Allegheny, it is not cool walking around by yourself. You hear footsteps following you. You see shadows, you see like white mists sometimes. So I was a little bit intimidated by that hallway that night. Definitely. That was probably one of the scariest experiences I've had. And it really wasn't scary. So I'd say out of everything, that was one of the most memorable for me. It was awesome. Now I know they say orbs aren't paranormal, but I don't know what that was. But something came out in that hallway and kind of hovered there for a little while and then just disappeared. The door closing was cool. Oh, you're welcome. I don't remember what... Oh, Copperhead, be quiet. You were always in there. Every weekend. You don't count. You know, Jeremy talks about all the time about when we did the celebrity event, and he would be walking from D to A, and he would hear footsteps behind him. So at one point, when we were down in the, you know, the big room that everybody was in, he's like, hey, come with me. I got to walk up here to the canteen and, you know, I don't remember what it was, but he had to do something. So we were walking back and he said, now you got to listen. You got to listen to see these footsteps. And I'm telling you what, you could hear them. They would literally, you could hear them walking. And as soon as you stopped, they'd walk maybe a couple times and they'd stop too. So then when we were coming back through to go back to the big room, it did it too. It was very bizarre. I mean, the stuff that happens in there is crazy. Crazy. And that's not a play on words. No pun intended at all. You guys will have to put your, if you've been to Trans-Allegheny, put your most memorable experience in the comments, if I could get that out. I will say, even though we don't have plans to go back right now, Trans-Allegheny is probably the place that I have my fondest memories. The building is incredible. It has this feeling about it like it's home. No, I'm not saying that I'm crazy. I'm just saying that, like, you don't understand it until you really go. Yeah, see? There's a spot that you didn't like. But every time we would leave Trans-Allegheny, it felt like we were, you know, oh, I don't want to leave. I'm going to miss it so much. And then when we get back, it felt like you were coming home. The building itself almost has a personality and an energy all of its own. Its own little universe. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful place. And sometimes I walk out here into my sunroom because the sunroom just smells old. I like the scents, you know how some scents when they're all mixed together, it smells like Trans-Allegheny, and I'm like, damn, I'm ready to go back. Not all of them are fond. Well, I'd say that that last time that we were there, one of those last times, that was a great, great experience. My first experience with really connecting to a spirit with my intuitive abilities. I won't forget that. Oh, that laugh. So, okay. I'll give a little background. I don't like talking about this very much because to me, I'm still, you know, in the developing stages of all of my own abilities, but we were in Ward F, which I'm sure a lot of people know Ward F. There was something down there that just wasn't right. And Copperhead had explained that there was something in there that might have been blocking his ability to experience things in the building. And so walking through, you know, I'm thinking about Copperhead. I'm thinking about what possibly could be in the building. And it hit me that there's something that was up there between F and C that definitely did not like Copperhead at all. And I could see this guy, and I immediately said, he's in the gray bathroom. Now, I had no idea where the gray bathroom... I don't go in the bathrooms because they freak me out. And it's not because of the paranormal part. It's just because they're gross. And, you know, just seeing this guy in my mind's eye, this dude standing in the bathroom, and he kept shaking his face like he didn't want me to see what he looked like. And to me, that's just totally bizarre. I get flashes of images in my mind's eye of people, and his flashes were like, you know, little GIF clips, you know, just little vines that his face would just shake back and forth. But every once in a while, there was a flaw. I could see his facial features. He had a long face, he had a large gap between his teeth, and he had dark hair. And I went down immediately and told Copperhead, I'm like, there's this guy up there. Now, luckily enough, we were on a private investigation. Because we volunteered so much, we did some private investigations in there. So we were the only people in the building. They were all downstairs at the back door, and I told Copperhead that I finally found this guy. So he pretty much knew who it was. Well, he wanted me to go back up there to try to figure out where exactly he was, using what I call my spidey senses. So I go back up, and I'm wandering around, and I get toward F. I walk down the long hallway, and then up the short hallway where the seclusion cells are. And as soon as I get to the end of the hallway, I just stopped, and I looked at the two investigators with me, and I said, he is laughing at us. Because he's very squirrely. It was like he jumped from one place to the next. He'd be over here, then he'd be over there, and then he'd be over there. And it was hard to get a beat on exactly where he was at. So I said, he's laughing at us. Not even 20 seconds later, this shout of laughter echoed off the walls in Ward F. I tell you what, the guys I was with, their eyes were like the size of dinner plates. And they looked at me and they're like, oh my God. At that point, they did not necessarily have validation yet that my abilities were real. But I guess at that point, when I said he was laughing, and then they all were like, holy crap, it really kind of proved to them that I knew what I was talking about. That's the experience that I'll share. There's a lot more to the story, but I don't really talk about it. And the actual spirit's name, Copperhead knows all that information, and I don't know that he talks about it either. It was an interesting experience, and I really was not prepared for that. I didn't have a lot of protective rituals in place yet for my abilities. I didn't, I knew how to open and I knew how to close, but this guy, his energy was so powerful that I wasn't able to close that night. So then I had to go outside and ground myself to try to be able to do it. And I got freaked out again. I'm standing outside by myself at the back of Trans-Allegheny. And not everybody gets to go back there, but I was standing in the grass between the building and the canteen, and I see these eyes glowing at me from across the thing. And so, of course, I'm like, eyes. I start clapping my hands, trying to see. It wouldn't move. So, oh my God, what is that? I started freaking out. Copperhead comes outside, and I'm like, what is that? He's like, it's a deer laying down. I didn't have my flashlight. Stupid me. So I really freaked myself out. And at that point, I think whatever was preventing me from closing allowed me to at that point. So it was a crazy, crazy night. Yeah, no, Copperhead doesn't talk about it either. But I've actually been talking for like an hour and 11 minutes. Does anybody have any other questions? I have things to talk about for days. Hi, Sharon. Are you back? Hi, Rebecca. I don't know if everybody's still watching or not. Let's see, we've got 9 people. But if everybody's interested in us actually continuing with this and doing this every week, I definitely am interested in doing it. Like I said, I feel like instead of criticizing other people that are in the paranormal field or putting out there what people are not doing right, the best idea is to put out information that combat ignorance by educating, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Any more questions? No? One of my goals for APS, I think I've told people this over the years, I was never after being a public figure in the paranormal field. I've always made my team my number one priority, keeping the team together, learning, educating, making well-rounded investigators. Recently, I've really felt like the only way to get your information noticed is to be a public figure, to do events, to be at these paracons, and to, you know, get to know people that are on TV. I don't want to do that, but, you know, at some point you kind of got to do the things you don't really want to do to put the information out there that needs to be seen. So who knows what's to come with me and APS, but I think I'm going to cut the live off for here. I think I might be back on Thursday around 7, same time. I think that's about it, guys. If anybody has any questions, I'll give another minute, and we'll go from there. But I've had fun talking to everybody with all this about all this stuff. I have so much information up in this head of mine that I'm always willing to. Well, thanks. What? Well, because you've been on TV, Copperhead. You're infamous. When I grow up, I want to be just like Copperhead. Tell Michelle I said hello. We all said hello. Hi, Ann. My cousin Ann's watching. She knows how crazy I am about the whole paranormal thing. Alright, guys. So, I'm going to cut it off right now. I'm glad everybody joined me. Once again, I'm going to be back hopefully Thursday night at 7. I know the last time I did a live, I talked a little bit about my son who, my son who is a cheerleader. Yes, he's a cheerleader. He's 17. He's a senior this year. He's graduating from high school. He just went to the cheerleading worlds in Orlando, Florida. So he's living it up in Disney for a couple days. Lucky kid. This is Anna. Everybody say hi to Anna, my daughter. But I'm so proud of him. If you go to Flow Cheer, his picture is on Flow Cheer. It's so exciting. Yeah, I'm being a mom right now. But that's about it, guys. Like I said, if you could, after I finish this, you're welcome to put comments in the comments section and ask questions that I can answer next time. You can put in some of your experiences that you had at Trans-Allegheny. Or just comment on some of the content. Copperhead says hello.
Hi, Copperhead.
But I had a great time. So we're going to leave it at that. And once again, I'm Rebecca Boyer. I am the co-founder of Antietam Paranormal Society. And pretty much a jack of all trades with my paranormal team. Anna's famous. Alright, guys.